Are we live now?
Uh, Minutes. It's good, friend. So yes, we are.
We're live now?
Yes, we are live now.
All righty, awesome. Hello, everyone. It's nice to have you here again today. As always, every Saturday we try to teach you one or more skills on how to work with AI. I mean, AI is pretty ubiquitous today, and it's rapidly growing. The use thereof is rapidly growing, and the better you are working with AI, the more chances you have at succeeding professionally, and the more chances you have at finding better paying jobs. So today, we will take a look at using AI for data analysis. We'll start out by doing it manually, of course, and then we'll do it with AI. All righty. So this is our weekly masterclass again, where we try to empower you by teaching you how best to work with these emerging tools, otherwise called as AI tools. Now, today, we'll use pandas in Python. Pandas is a package in Python. For some of you, or for any of you who is in our data analytics course, you would have encountered pandas. It's a library in Python that is used for data analysis. It's mostly useful for dealing with data sets. A data set is synonymous to data that is structured data that is in something like an Excel sheet, right? But then it's beyond Excel. It's CSV, Excel, Parquet, JSON. There are different types of data that you could process and analyze with pandas. So we'll work with pandas and also work with ChatGPT so that you get to see how a combination of these tools can make you significantly more effective. Number one. Number two, how you could actually apply whatever we do today to creating an income stream for yourself. Now, let me quickly mention that whatever we teach you here is a very tiny part of our data analytics course, which again runs every month. We have cohorts starting every month, and it runs for about 3 months. In addition to teaching you these data analysis skills, we also teach you how to freelance. So basically, we teach you how to make money for those in Nigeria, how to earn dollars remotely, working as a freelancer on platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer, and there's so many of them. So what we're going to cover, this would be an example data. It's a dummy data. It's sales data. Take it as an example that you're working with sales data from ShopRite, right? You have this daily sales data. Of course, there will be messy rows where data is missing or data is in the wrong format. So would look at one of those examples. Then would also look at summarizing trends in the data using AI. So you know how to do this using Python and Pandas, but then can you make it faster? If perhaps you're already freelancing, you have multiple clients you're attending to, how can you serve many clients within the shortest period of time so you can maximize your time and maximize your income? That's what we will be teaching you here. Then also using AI to extract insights excuse me, from the analysis. So again, as a freelancer, if a client comes to you on Upwork or Fiverr or any of these platforms and says, "Hey, I have this data that I've generated from sales from my e-commerce business, and I need you to help me analyze this data. I want this done every week or every month." How do you advise them? How do you provide insight advisory from that data? You would see how to do some of that. And if we have enough time, would also teach you how to export reports so that the client can use that very insight for decision making, which is the reason they hired you in the first place. Now, why does data analysis matter? Why is it important to do data analysis? In everything that we do in life, whether business, of course, commercial and personal, Every decision is based on data. We look at the past mistakes we've made and we want to make corrections. Of course, that past mistake, that's a data point. We're looking at our historical data in our business and we want to make decisions for expansion, decisions for investment. All of that will be based on data. You go to the hospital and the doctor tells you you're not feeling good because of what you're eating. Now you have to make a decision. Well, what have I had? What is it that I ate up to this point that I need to stop eating? You need data. You need to understand the data points from the food you've had over time so that you can make changes. So 85% of decisions, even more than 85% of the decision makers rely on raw data to make decisions, to define business processes, to refine business goals. All of everything is based on data. You're driving on a highway that you've driven previously, and then there is traffic, and you know that there is a particular time or that the traffic is lighter or the traffic is worse. That's all data. So you're cooking, and you know that if I add 2 grams of salt, my beans is going to be bad. That's data. So we produce data personally, at a business level, and we make decisions using all of those data points. Now, freelancers who can explain data. So it's one thing to analyze data, right? Which is just take the data, clean it up, extract insights. Now, if you can explain that very insight and put it in a way where a business person can make a better decision with your data, you're twice more likely to land clients. Any business, basically any client that reaches out to you is trying to solve a problem. So the better you are at solving the problems, the more likely that you get retained clients, the more likely that the retained clients would recommend you to other clients, and the more likely that they would leave positive reviews for you. And you need these positive reviews to get more business. So the skill that we're teaching you here, which again is just maybe 1% of what we teach in our data analysis class, this skill here, if you go with only this skill and implement whatever you learn here, you'll be better at as a data analyst or someone that works with data, and you're more likely to make more money as a freelancer. Now, the additional skill that we're teaching you is how to do data analysis with ChatGPT. And as a data analyst, who can work with AI, you are 10 times more likely to do more using AI. So you have smarter workflows, you have faster workflows, you can turn around clients faster, you can produce better quality projects and outcomes for clients. So it helps a lot. Overall, you're going to be better. It's going to make you wealthier. And of course, for those who believe money brings joy, you're going to be happier. And at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the comments. And for those who have joined us on other online platforms, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, feel free to drop your comments. Later, we'll take a look at them and we would provide you answers. And if at the end of this very tutorial, you feel interested in learning more, this is just 1% of what we teach in our data analytics program. And we do this every week, every Saturday. We'll teach you one topic or one concept and teach you how to improve on that concept with AI to make you better. So the steps would follow. It's pretty quick. As we upload a CSV file. We all know what a CSV file is. Um, we look at a CSV file to try to understand, are there missing records? Of course, you don't want to run any analysis on a row that has no data. If there's no data in that row, it means there is nothing to be gained from the row. So you need to be able to drop it. Then you need to do some statistical analysis of your data, right? On average, what is the value for the attributes that you have? What is the median attribute? What is the count of the attribute? What is the standard deviation? So you need to have all of those statistical properties. Then, of course, you may want to do group by. So these are things that typically you do manually in Python. And we're going to look at all of these done again with AI. You see how fast you can work with AI, which is a part of what we teach you as part of our courses. Then again, we'll do some of the summary analysis of those very skills using ChatGPT. We'll teach you how to extract insights from all of that. And then after that, the next thing we'll do is, of course, encourage you to apply the same thing in your freelancing career. For those who already you've been through our program, you've graduated for our program, from our programs, you can apply this to your freelancing career. Use AI more often, and you're very likely to get better results. And there is an offer. If you build your own summary reports, with similar data, you can download data from Kaggle, and you submit your the result you have. We would pick one winner, and the best winner gets 10 gigabytes worth of data for those in Nigeria for free. It's just to encourage you to do more, right? Encourage you to run more analysis. And at the end, we'll have questions and answers for those who are interested in the career tracks and what are your next steps. We would provide you answers. So let's start with the processes. I'm going to stop sharing and share another screen. So if you have questions, just drop them in the comments, and one of our team members would allot me to the questions. For those we can answer now, and for those we cannot answer now, we will provide answers. Thank you. Awesome. Alrighty. So the example data we are working with here is a sales data. This is what the data looks like. So this is a sales data for the month of June. So for every single day, we're looking at a particular product that was sold. We'll look at the quantity of the product. We'll look at the cost, and we'll look at the total sales amount for every single day. So basically, looking at a product, looking at a cost, looking at a sales amount. So this, happens every day in, day out. You do sales. It's a regular process in business. And here we have some rows that are dirty. Of course, there's no data, so we cannot use this for analysis. We would have to drop this because there is nothing we can analyze with an empty row. So then let's open up Python that we'll use for analysis. There are so many other tools you can use, but the language of choice for most data professionals is Python. And of course, you can use SQL for data management, but for analysis, Python is the language of choice. And you can use an IDE like this, or you can use a notebook, doesn't matter. For me, I prefer using an IDE. It's easier for me. So the first thing first is to make sure that we see our data. So I'm actually working from the directory, the same directory where the data is. So we import packages that we're going to need. There is a pandas package. Again, like I said, it's used for data manipulation. And there is a NumPy package, which is used for mathematical operations in Python. So I won't be teaching any Python. That's a part of our class. If you're a student of our class, you already would have learned this. And if you're not yet a student, I implore you to join us. What you're learning here is just 1% of what we teach. All right, so we have the package imported. Now we need to bring in the data. So the way it works, you take Panda and Panda reads CSV, then we'll bring in the very data set. We name it as a data frame here. Oh, alrighty. Now we want to look at this data to understand how many records of this data are null. But let's first of all look at this, look at ahead the first few records, look at first two records here. Okay, so we see the first two records. We have said we have date, we have product, we have quantity, we have cost, we have sales amount. Now, of course, when we looked at this data, looked at a CSV file, we noticed that some rows were missing, right? Or some columns didn't have any data for some rows. So let's see. For each of the columns, how many rows have missing records? So we take the data frame, we say is missing, is NA means is missing. It's a function that checks missing records, the sum of all of the missing records. And this would happen, it's aggregated at a column level. So we see that date has 0 missing record, product has 5 rows missing, quantity has 5 rows missing, cost has 5 rows missing, and sales has 5 rows missing. And we can even go a little further and do the info. Gives us a lot more information. Tells us the data type, tells us the non-null count. So this is the longer way to do it, and this here is the easier way to do it. Just tells you exactly how many rows are missing. If you see here the date, we have 30 records. So to confirm that, we can look at the shape, data frame done shape. So this basically tells us how many rows and how many columns, right? So when we compare this and this, we see there are 30 non-null rows, 25 here, 25 here, 25 here, meaning that 5 records are null or missing. So the same thing that we have here. Like I said, this is the easier way, and this is a much longer way to do it. And right here, you have the easier way to do it. It just tells us all the missing record. Now, in some cases, you may do data imputation, especially if you're doing machine learning, right? You may need to impute data. Now, the reason you would want to impute data is because would be number one, if you have a few data points and you cannot afford to lose data. Number two, you want to make sure that the data imputation is based on domain knowledge, right? So for something like sales, if we have data that we could estimate sales from for that very row, then of course we can impute it. And this would depend on if all the columns are missing. So let's say, for example, only sales amount is missing. And there is a direct way to calculate this where we say the cost of the product multiplied by the quantity of the product plus profit, we have the sales amount, right? That way we don't have to drop the rows, we can impute the data. There are other more statistical ways to do this beyond just domain knowledge. We could do imputation using machine learning itself. We could do clustering. So clustering is like grouping things together, right? You group them together. You can take the averages and say for everything that is similar, this is the average. Therefore, this missing row, based on all of the other columns that fall in these different categories, this is what I expect the value to be. It could also be regression based, right? So regression really is just taking numerical values and looking how they impact each other linearly. So you're looking at a line. You draw a line and say x1 is here, x2 is here. The difference between x1 and x2 is just 2, right? So you could do it using linear regression. There are so many ways to do this. But then because we're not doing imputation, we'll just clean this up so we can continue with our analysis. So for this, we do drop NA. So the way it works, you use drop NA to drop all the NA. The same way we have is NA here, tells you what is missing. Here, drop NA drops what is missing. But we don't want to drop without specifying exactly what is missing, right? So we know here that 4 columns are missing. So we already know that these 4 columns that are missing, that have missing data, they're missing all together, right? So we just can use only 3 columns. So just to do it properly, I can add a 4th column here, say sales amount, sales amount. So we drop all the columns, drop all the rows where these columns have missing data. So these 4 columns must have missing data for these rows to be dropped. So if we do this, now again, we look at our clean data frame to see if we successfully drop this. Remember, before we started, we had 5 missing records each. So now we look at it again and we see that we have 0 missing records. Now, if we go back again, remember that thing we did with info, right? So let's repeat it just to be very sure, right? So here, we take this and we take this one that we cleaned up here. Let's compare the both of them. So this was the data before we cleaned it. And now this is the data after we cleaned it. Okay, as you can see, we have dropped 5 rows because of what we did here. So now we have 25 rows, all non-null. So we've succeeded with cleaning the data. The next step now is to do statistical analysis. We want to understand this data. What is the distribution of data? Again, distribution just tells you for a group of data, how are they arranged? Like how are they distributed? How are they arranged? How are they organized, right? Um, every single physical phenomenon has a way that it is arranged, right? For example, on a road, there will be n number of accidents on a given road. Such a distribution will be Poisson distribution. If you flip a coin, right? You take a coin that has a head and a tail, you flip it. There are 50% chances that each of them would come to the head, or you get the tail. That is a Bernoulli distribution. If you flip it so many times, what there will be some chance that you would get head, 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 that you'd get tail, 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 tail. That is a binomial distribution. So it's just a distribution of how data is arranged. Now, if you take data that is, you take so many data points, at least 50 and above, you would see that most of the data points, they would concentrate around the mean, around the average. That is a normal distribution. So we just look at this just to understand how the data is distributed. Some of the statistical principles will tell you again how far off the data is from the average. So again, what the average is that number that if we were to spread it across everybody, let's say there are 10 people, right? Each person gets paid a particular amount of salary. Some get paid $1,000, another 2,000, 3,000. So if we compare each other, one person would be the richest, or one would be richer than the other. One would be more than the other, right? But if we take everybody's salary, we take the money from everybody and say we're going to split it equally amongst all of you. So that is average, right? Where we split it equally amongst everybody. We divide the sum equally by everybody. That is the average. Now, the concept of standard deviation now is you look at how does each person's value vary from that average. So average that everybody would get, right? Let's say the average is 1,000, right? Then we say, okay, on average, to the right of 1,000 and to the left of 1,000, what is that unit of gap, right? Maybe unit of gap could be 1,000, could be 2,000. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but I'm simplifying it. So that is the concept of a standard deviation, how each data point deviates from the mean. Then count, of course, count means the count, how many. Remember when we cleaned it, it became 25. So now we have 25. That's the count. And like I said, the average means that for all of the quantities, we just split the quantities by 25. We sum them up, we arrange them in order, in increasing order. We sum them up, we divide them by 25. That's the mean. Do the same for cost, for sales. So this is an average. So on average, each sale was for 285, whatever amount this is. On average, each of the product cost $31. On average, we sold 6.6 quantities per sale. So this is the standard deviation that just tells us how the data points, the first 65%, the next 85%, and the next 99% of the data, how they deviate from the mean. Then the minimum just means what is the lowest number of quantity. If we look at all of the quantity column from beginning to the end, what is the lowest number that we would find? That is the minimum. So we have minimum 2, we have minimum 9, we have minimum 39. Then 25, the 25th% just means from the beginning to the first 25th%, what is the average for that? That is just the intuition behind it. Then the same for here. Then the 50% just means the median, right? The first 50%. What is the first 50%? What is in the middle of the first 50%? Then the 75th% means for the last, that's 75th%, 50 plus 25, that very part after 50%, what is in the middle of that very range. Then the maximum will be the highest number. We have the lowest as 2, we have the highest as 10. So that is what this does. It just does statistical description. So now we enter into aggregation. So we may want to do aggregations to understand on average, right? For example, for each product group, on average, what is the average quantity? So here we're looking at product group. We look at the quantity. The quantity is straight up, gives us the average here as 6.68. But what if within this data, the average is different for each product group? So what if the average cost for each product group is different? We may be interested in that, right? So as a business person, the reason you're interested in the average cost is on average, how much did it cost me per product generally? That is what we're getting here. Then on average, for each of these different products, is there one that costs more? Is there one that costs less? Do I use one price for all of them? Or do I have separate prices for each of these products because of the average cost of the products? So that's one reason why you would want to aggregate this at a product level. So if we do that, we're looking at two aggregations. We'll look at the average for the quantity, which is the quantity sold. Then for cost, we'll look at the average for cost. We'll look at the maximum value. We look at the minimum. We can organize it anyhow we want. We can start with minimum, then say the mean, then the max. Then maybe we may be interested in the what's the other value in sales amount, right? Sales amount. We want to know the maximum sales, how much the maximum sale for each product, maximum sale for each product, and the average sale for all of that product group. So we run it and we have the different products, right? So for device E, excuse me, on average, we sold 6.66 quantities. The minimum cost for the product is 25. The maximum cost for the product is 49.44, but on average, the cost is 38.33. Then for the sales amount, the maximum sales was 728 and the average sales was 357. So all of this data comes handy for a business person. Now, question. You see how long it's taken us to do all of the analysis so far, right? What if, what if we're able to do this analysis using AI and so much more with AI? Now imagine you have multiple number of clients because you're so good at what you do, which again is what AI would help you become, that you're able to do this instead of 1 hour, you're able to do this in 10 minutes. Wouldn't that be better for you? You just, if you're charging a client $50 an hour and you're retained as a monthly, there's a monthly retainee for you, right? And you're doing 10 hours, that's $500 a month. And you have 4 clients, you're making $2,000 a month. And you're able to actually do this in just, instead of that much hours, you do this in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I mean, it helps you, right? So that's the goal here. So that's why for every single course that we teach, excuse me, we also teach you how to work with AI. In fact, we have our AI built in-house called Teacher that we teach you how to collaborate with this as you learn each and every one of the courses that we teach you. So let's begin. Most of you would have 4O. So let's work with 4O. Okay, I have sales data from a client. Name of the client is, let's say it's ABC Limited, right? They want me to analyze the data. So typically, if you want to do this, you would have to copy the whole conversation you had with the client. Of course, you delete anything that's private information or proprietary information. You copy what the client tells you or told you that they expect from this analysis. They want me to analyze the data, find patterns in the data, and provide detailed analysis based on the data. They hope to improve their sales with the insights and analysis. Write a detailed report, detailed report, which as the output, provide a Word documents with visualizations where necessary. Make your work highly professional. McKinsey standard data. So this is the data, right? Now, the same thing that we did with just these few lines of prompts, we're going to have the AI do it and do it significantly better. So here we go. Give it some time, patient, and the analysis begins. And you may need to prompt it further in some cases. In other cases, this initial prompt is enough to produce enough result for the client. And of course, the ask may be much more complicated than this, but in any of the cases, right, you have a tool that you can collaborate with to produce a top-notch output. So let's give it some time. And your analysis is ready. So let's download the analysis. And let's see what it looks like. Awesome. All righty. So again, this might be your first go, and the first go might turn out great. This might be your 10th iteration or your Xth iteration, but the goal is to produce a top quality work that a client would look at and meets their need, advises them with the insights, accurately provides information that a client will find useful. So here we go. Prevents a professional analysis of sales for the client. This report analyzes sales trends, product performance, and opportunities for growth based on data collected in June 2025. Our findings reveal high-performing products, inconsistent daily revenue, and potential underutilization of specific inventory. Recommendations are also provided. So it gives the key metrics, tells you the total revenue, the total number of product, the number of active sales days. Now remember that after we cleaned out the data, we had 25 records, right? So let's go back there. So we had 25 records for 25 days because 5 days, of course, did not have any data. Awesome. Now the total number of products sold, 5 products. Then this is the sales performance. Tells you device E, how much, tells you all of the products, the 5 different products. This same thing here we could get by aggregating, whether we do the aggregation again here, by doing sum here. So instead of mean, we can do sum right here. We do the sum here. So the same value here would get 2,147, 1,744, 1,349, 1,349, the same thing. Now, gives us a daily sales trend for each of the dates, then the quantity versus the sales amount. So this is sort of a plot that tells you how many you sold for the sale amount. So this is a quantity sold, and this is a sale amount, and the recommendations. Focus on high performing products such as E and A. Investigate low revenue days. So there are days where you had gaps, no sales on that very day. So those were the missing records, right? On those very 5 days, there were no sales. So for us, it may be a poor data, maybe maybe a data problem. Also, it could be that there was no sale on that day. It could also be that the business is not open on that day, right? But it highlights this. So for you, you may want to go back and ask the clients, right? On this day, are you open? Why do you not have sales on these very days? If the client comes back and tells you, oh, we're not open on that very day, you may extend the analysis depending on the location of the client, right? You may use external data to find out what is the demand for that day. You may advise the client based on data. You need to open on those days because you're missing money, depending on what the client sells, right? So it's an iterative process, but basically your work needs to be very solid, very top notch, so that at the end of the day, your client is satisfied, and you can get repeat business, and also get importantly positive feedback from your clients, which would of course become a review that tells the world that you're good enough. And that is the end of the this demo. So we'll go back to the presentation. And yes, so we have multiple courses that we teach presently. We have data analytics, we do cybersecurity, we have DevOps, we have some AI courses that we're building, of course. And of course, for each of our the courses, the group of courses, we have a three-phase roadmap. We have the beginners class, we have the intermediate class, and we have a job ready program, which again, right now is mostly for the non-Nigerian market. But for the Nigerian market, we have a program that teaches you how to freelance. It's for free. You're not paying for it. We have a professional, an expert on freelancing that teaches you how to make money as a freelancer. Of course, we have a lot of tools, a lot of resources that would help you become better at this. And if you want to, work, you don't want to freelance, we have a partnership with recruiters around the world. We can help you build your resume and put your resume out there to our partners who may be interested in hiring. But because of the uniqueness of our project, of our program, which is project based, they are all internship based. It's all projects. You build a rich portfolio. And this portfolio you build basically speaks to the fact, it evidences the fact that you can do the job. So that is one key for success, and that's something that makes us stand out. We really want you to succeed. Um, Now, for everyone everywhere, for next week, Saturday, we want you to be a part of, determining what it is to teach. We have three options: finance, cybersecurity, and smart IoT. We're going to put this out there, and we expect you to let us know which one you want us to teach for next week, Saturday. Is it AI for finance? Is it AI for cybersecurity? Is it smart IoT? How to create devices that monitor things, or applications that monitor things externally out beyond just from a computer. They can monitor real world things. That's what IoT is. So let us know what it is you would want us to teach next week. We're always happy to teach different topics. You just speak, and we will teach. And if you want to join any of our classes, feel free to contact us. We have cohorts starting every month. And again, we have cybersecurity, DevOps, we have data analytics, we have UI UX, and we have AI courses. And for every single one of these courses, we teach you how to freelance for free. We help you set up a shop on freelancing platforms. We help you with how you can find clients and start earning in dollars. We help you become successful. Our goal is to pull you out of poverty. That's what we do, for especially for those in Africa. So please, if you have any questions, feel free, drop your questions in the comment section here or in the comment section on any of the platform, LinkedIn, X, or Instagram. And we will be happy to provide you all the answers that you need and help you enroll in one of our courses. Thank you so very much. We'll give it another few minutes to wait for questions. Um, another few minutes, and you can join our WhatsApp channel. For those of you who are on here on Zoom, you can join the WhatsApp channel. It's in the chat. And if you are on any of the other platform, ping us directly. We will provide you a link to the WhatsApp channel where we provide free nuggets on how to find remote jobs, on how to land gigs as a freelancer, and basically every strategy you need to be successful in tech. Thank you so very much once again. My name is Gilbert Igwe, and I am really happy to have taught you today. So we give it a few more minutes for questions. 2 more minutes to take questions before we call it a day. One more minute, and we will call it a day. And please, if you have any questions, just feel free, drop them in the comment section on any of the platforms you joined from. Any platform you are on right now, IG, X, LinkedIn, we will be happy to provide you answers. Our team will be on the lookout. We'll give you all the answers you need to help you succeed. Few more seconds. How long does it take for the data engineering course? Edward, we do data analytics and it's for 12 weeks. 12 weeks, 12 different projects, all of them designed to help you build your portfolio. Alrighty, so that is it. Edward, if you'd kindly drop your contact information, one of our team members will reach out to you and we'll provide you any other information that you would find useful. Just drop your information in the chat and join our channel. Thank you so very much. All right, guys, until next time, once again, my name is Gilbert Igwe, signing out. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye.
Have a wonderful weekend, guys.